와 무릎에 아작나는 소리 났어. 안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동타왕코입니다. 코로나가 다시 엄청 심해졌죠. 그래서 오늘 원래 영어 학원도 가야 되는데 영어 학원도 못 갔어요. 코로나가 잠잠해질 때까지 다시 집에서 자숙하도록 하겠습니다. 날씨가 엄청 덥습니다. 지금 폭염이고 저녁이에요. 낮잠을 잤는데 한 1시간 반 정도 잤는데 너무 개운합니다 지금. 근데 운동은 너무 하기 싫어요. 그래서 일단은 그래도 하긴 해야 되니까 기왕 할 거 원래 샤워를 했는데 땀 쫙 빼면서 운동하겠습니다. 운동하고 분리수거 버리고 자야겠어요. 11시쯤에 자서 7시에 일어나야겠습니다. 10시 안에는 자야겠네요. 10시에 눕도록 하겠습니다. 일단은 운동을 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 운동엔 CNN!
To pay attention to.
Okay, from North Carolina to Wuhan, China. So there was this huge rave, huge outdoor concert. I mean, look at this. Look at what's happening in Wuhan, which obviously, as you know, Sanjay, was the epicenter, ground zero for coronavirus. And number one, when can I go to one of these things? Because it looks great. But I mean, is the thinking there that there's not a single case in Wuhan, so now it's safe, or what happens next?
Well, let me give you the caveats first, which is that we got to be a little bit careful when interpreting the data out of Wuhan because we haven't always gotten the most accurate or up-to-date information. Having said that, they have not had a locally transmitted case, they say, since the middle of May. Okay, so quite some time. Now, as you point out, they went into very strict lockdown. 76 days of very strict lockdown. We're doing a lot of reporting out of there. You remember this province, they call it a small province in China. It's 11 million people, so it's actually quite huge, bigger than any city in the United States population-wise. So they were able to do a strict lockdown. They had remarkable amounts of testing that were done, and they've basically been able to, they say, stop local transmission of this virus and be able to have parties like this. We'll have to see. Do these types of events, do they turn into some sort of super spreader event? They shouldn't if they truly have no locally transmitted cases. But I think, part of the reason, they're showing this, we're seeing similar things, not quite to that extent, but similar things in other parts of the world, is to show what is possible. It is possible if you bring the viral load way down and people are diligent during their lockdown, that you could return to some sense of normalcy, which I think was what is starting to happen in Wuhan.
Sanjay, new research about the durability of immunity that might be promising. What's been learned?
Yeah, for some time we've sort of said, hey, look, so you get infected, are you then protected? That's the question. And I think what we've been saying for some time is, yeah, you probably are, but we don't know how long that protection lasts. We don't know how strong that protection is. You could look at other coronaviruses like SARS and say, yeah, you got pretty good protection after you were infected. What some of these new studies show are two things. It seems that even people with mild infections do seem to be generating a fair amount of antibody response. These are the cells in your body that can help fight a future infection. So, we thought maybe it was correlated to just the most significant infections having the protection, but even people with mild infections do seem to have protection. It seems to be lasting a while. Keep in mind, we don't see a lot of reinfection so far in this country. And the second thing is people who've never been exposed do seem to have protection as well, perhaps because they've been exposed to other coronaviruses. So there's some good news, at least to end this on.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
The Democratic National Convention resumes tonight, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is among the key speakers, so he is going to join us live to talk about that and so much more. Next.
We were globe-trotting, carefree, adventurous. We saw things we only imagined and heard stories that reached and stirred our souls. It's different now, but our wanderlust is still strong. Look at it! And we're getting ready to once again go and travel.
It's a world of wonder on CNN in association with Turkish Airlines.
Hello, my name is Thomas Knoza from Switzerland, and I'm a food creator.
I will prepare for you today my favorite snack.
We're looking for a theme, like for example New York or something, and then I start to do my research and try to create dishes. After a while I present my ideas and the dishes at the company.
We close the whole thing, press it slightly together.
Since March I'm not really allowed to work because we are like on, I call it in English, it's like on short time. So I'm allowed to work 3 or 4 hours a week max. And this is of course quite difficult because you follow the news every day, but you don't know what is going on the next day. So you're not sure about your job, if you will keep it or you will lose it. But you know, you think about the future, what you can do. So I think that for example, maybe I will buy a food truck, you know. So there's a lot of new opportunities in my life. And you know, for me it's like tough times, but also a new beginning for me, for myself. This dish.
Here we go. This is my meatball sandwich, my favorite snack.
Election like no other. In a year like no other. The 2020 Democratic National Convention.
This election is about decency, it's about honor, it's about restoring dignity.
Special live coverage continues tomorrow on CNN.
I'm David Culver in Wuhan, China.
In Yokohama, Japan.
CNN in Abu Dhabi.
I'm Nerman Baghed in Sinjar, Iraq.
Northern Syria, Lagos, Nigeria.
Stockholm.
Outside London.
CNN, Sao Paulo, Brazil.
In Mexico City.
This is CNN.
If you take one thing from my words tonight, it is this. If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will if we don't make a change in this election. If we have any hope of ending this chaos, we have got to vote for Joe Biden like our lives depend on it.
Former First Lady Michelle Obama on the first night of the Democratic National Convention. So what's in store for night 2? Joining me now is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He is one of tonight's speakers. Senator, thanks so much for being with us. Before we get to tonight, I'm sure you were an avid viewer last night. What do you think the most important single message that the former First Lady sent was?
That we cannot be complacent in any way, and we have to remove Donald Trump from office and put Joe Biden in and get America moving on so many issues, including fighting the racism that is still so endemic in our society. It was a beautiful speech. I think she was talking directly to people sitting on their living room couches. It was almost more effective than a convention speech with the big crowds cheering, because she was talking right at them. It was personal, it was strong, it was heartfelt, and the message was so powerful. I think she did a great job, and I have to give a lot of credit to Bernie right before that, talking about unity, but not unity for its own sake, unity to get things done. I'm going to touch on that in my speech tonight if we take back the Senate, which I hope we will, getting that done. And then, of course, the beginning. You know, I'm from New York, but I love to cross the river and hear Bruce Springsteen. And I thought that move, the rising and talking about people getting out there and trying to change America, set the right tone. So I thought it was a great job.
So no pressure.
I was dubious. It was an unconventional convention, but it worked.
So no pressure, but how are you going to top that tonight?
Well, I don't know if I can top it, and I'm not trying to top it. I'm going to speak from a place called the Liberty Warehouse. It's in Red Hook, right on the harbor, Brooklyn Harbor. Brooklyn, of course, is my hometown. And over my shoulder will be the Statue of Liberty. One of the things I'm going to touch on is immigration. I feel it passionately. I feel what we've done to immigrants under this administration is horrible in an inhumane way for them, but also for the economy of the country. And all the businesses and everyone else agree with that. And it's nice to do it at this warehouse because, just on a personal note, it was an old warehouse for pillows and sheets, but they converted it to a wedding space. And my daughter got married there 4 years ago, and now she's the mother of my first grandson. So I have special feeling for the place because of the Statue of Liberty. Actually, my middle name is Ellis Island, and because of my daughter and the happiness we once had there.
So that's tonight. Your day job is as the minority leader in the U.S. Senate. On the House side, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is calling the House back to address the issues surrounding the Postal Service. What do you want to see happen in the Senate?
Well, look, the Senate should, if the House passes a bill, and I expect they will, the Senate should just pass it right away, hopefully by unanimous consent, get everyone on board. The post office is one huge mess. I met this man, Mr. DeJoy. He wouldn't meet with me. I called him 3 times. He wouldn't meet with me. So at our negotiations, Nancy and I, with Mnuchin and Meadows, said, we don't want to go forward on this. Postal's one of the big issues. Have him come in here. And it was clear to me that his goal was to dismantle the post office brick by brick, that the concerns of, especially during COVID, when you need the post office more than ever, elderly people can't go to the pharmacy. They depend on the mail for their medicines. Today I'll be on Long Island talking about veterans. Our veterans get 80-90% of their stuff, their drugs, through the mail. And to have these things delayed, all these special things delayed, and at the same time to sort of try to make the post office dysfunction so the elections will be dysfunctional, that's despicable. So we're going to do everything we can. There are a variety of ways. One is legislation, but there are others as well. The Postal Board, Elizabeth Warren and I wrote to the Postal Board, and they could undo what DeJoy has done. And you know, there's a lot of pressure, even on President Trump, when veterans say they need help. Maybe he'll get them to change it. I doubt it, but you got to try every angle because this is so important to people's health during COVID and to fair elections.
I get the concerns over cutting back on overtime, reducing the routes that the delivery people can run, and we are hearing from around the country that has caused some delays. But there are other aspects of what the Postal Service has done, which I'm not sure why they're as controversial, right? The Postal Service sent this letter out to the states telling them, you got to get your mail-in votes early. I want to read you what they said versus what Michelle Obama said last night about this. The U.S. Postal Service said voters should submit their ballot request early enough so that it is received by their election officials at least 15 days before Election Day at a minimum. Michelle Obama says we've got to request our mail-in ballots right now tonight and send them back immediately and follow up to make sure they're received. That seems to be the same message, roughly speaking.
Yeah,
isn't that a message you want your voters to get?
No, well, of course we want people to mail as early as possible. First of all, some state laws don't allow it. In many states, there's a date by which you have to apply for an absentee ballot, then they have to mail it to you, then you have to mail the ballot in. This is all in the context of the mail being much slower. If the post office has said we're going to treat it all as first-class mail, what they said would not be objectionable. The big objection is that they have not said, and we would require them in the legislation that's introduced in the House and the Senate to actually say this should be treated as first-class mail. I was yesterday with postal workers in upstate New York. They told me what's happening. They told me how much more slow the mail is. They told me their machines, their actual machines that sort the mail, are being dismantled at this moment. at the height of COVID.
Some already
when
have
so many
been.
people. Yeah.
Our information is that those have already been dismantled at this point, and we have received reports from around the country of a slowdown in mail delivery. There's no question.
That's the issue.
There's no question.
진짜 3세트를 폭풍같이 해줍니다.
Mitch McConnell, do you know what he wants to do with this? It's not totally clear, because on the one hand, he says he doesn't see a problem with the Postal Service. On the other hand, he says he doesn't agree with the president's concerns about, I think, mail-in voting. What do you know about Mitch McConnell's religion?
We just don't. We know in the skinny bill that the Republicans, Mnuchin and Meadows, put forward, there was no postal reform. They had no money to give the post office money. And again, these are two crises. It's the elections down the road, but it's right now people needing medicines and other things. When you have COVID and people can't go outside. Look, my dad's 97, World War II vet. He's a veteran. He gets all his stuff in the mail. Now, when I get some pills, but they're not life-threatening type stuff. It's statins for cholesterol. But when I'm down to 2 pills and sometimes the mail is late, I get worried. Well, can you imagine if it's much more vital to you? So the issue here is COVID and the need to not slow down the mail at this point in time, not undo the post office. I spoke to postal workers yesterday in Cayuga County, in Shenango County, in Rensselaer County, in upstate New York. And they say it's much slower, and the the people in the post office don't want to see this. Even the postmasters, you know, they've been part of this service proudly for years. It's coming from this Mr. DeJoy. Let's admit it, a political appointee, a large contributor to President Trump. And when we met him, it was clear that he was hell-bent on destroying the post office. Some people think there shouldn't be a post office. 91% of Americans think there should be a post office, even during normal times, let alone COVID and elections.
We will hear from Postmaster DeJoy next week before the House.
Yes.
Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, thanks very much for being with us. I know tonight is a special night for you. Thanks for joining us the morning up. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
So as we speak, several states say they are ready to sue the Trump administration over changes at the U.S. Postal Service. The Attorney General of one of those states joins us next.
I believe that we all have a responsibility to make the world a better place. You know, do what you can with what you have, and do as much of it as you can. I clearly am very lucky to have a platform to get to play for the United States. And to be able to take on some of these issues. So I personally just, you know, find it interesting, and this is the stuff that I like to do and talk about. I think that we can live in a more fair and equitable society. I think that we can have a better life, and I think we don't have to live, you know, particularly with what's happening right now. I don't think we have to live in this world. I think it can be better, and so for me, I try to use all of the resources or platform or, you know, microphone, if it's given to me, to do what I can to make the world a better place.
This is a mask. It prevents the spread of coronavirus. This is not a political statement. It's a mask.
In the United States, how long will it take? We're 208 years away from gender equality in our own country.
Join CNN's Erin Burnett with Jessica Alba, Carly Fiorina, Tarana Burke, Melinda Gates, Roxanne Gay, Carol Mosley Braun.
I'll tell you something, Erin, I don't think I've ever said this publicly.
And many more for CNN's Special Report, the 100-year battle for equality, Sunday on CNN.
I'm Ivan Watson in Hong Kong, and this is CNN.
Beirut, and this is CNN.
The embattled Postmaster General has agreed to testify before Congress next Monday, where he will have to explain why he's making changes to the mail system that are slowing down the process. Because of all of this, Massachusetts and other states are considering legal action against the Trump administration. Joining us now is the Massachusetts Attorney General, Maura Healey. Madam Attorney General, thank you very much for being here. So we're already seeing this happen in real time. We're 77 days away from the election, and already the postmaster has taken mail sorting, hundreds of mail sorting machines out of commission. They're removing mailboxes. They're taking away overtime. They're closing post offices for lunch and early. And so I guess my question is, what are you waiting for? What are you still considering in terms of legal action?
Well, first off, Allison, thanks for having me on this morning. And what we are seeing is absolutely outrageous and appalling. It's a combination of a couple things, right? Donald Trump is attempting to undermine confidence in mail-in voting because he believes that serves his electoral interest if people don't vote by mail. And so he's trying to create a specter of chaos and confusion so that people don't have confidence in mail-in voting. And the second thing is there are real issues as you're
마지막 한 세트만 더 하고 그만하겠습니다.
and as you've covered with respect to actual actions by the Postmaster General. So I can assure you, Allison, that I have been in contact with many of my colleagues over the last several days. We are prepared to take action, including legal action, as necessary to stop Donald Trump from engaging in efforts that undermine and thwart people's ability to exercise their constitutional right to vote. But we're also mindful that as we speak, Allison, there are other things going on where people aren't able to get their prescription drugs, their Social Security checks, and the like. And so we're going to look to work with others to stop this.
I understand, but I mean, again, what are you waiting for? I mean, it's happening.
Well, there are things happening, Allison, but as a matter of fact and law, we need to make sure that we have an understanding of what's happening on the ground so that we can take the appropriate action. And, I think that a lot of us have spent a lot of time talking to postal workers. We've been in close contact with folks on the ground. And it's important that we put together, if we're going to file a case, the strongest case possible so that we're able to get the remedy that we need. It's also important, though, Allison, that, we recognize this isn't going to come down to just litigation. It is imperative that Congress continue to call for accountability and oversight. I'm glad to see that happening. And it's imperative that the American people continue to speak out and demand accountability, particularly from Republicans in leadership, to put an end to this outrageous conduct and the specter of more outrageous conduct. We know how important this is.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're 77 days away. If you were going to take some legal action or file a case, when would that happen?
I think we know the urgency and the immediacy of needing to act right now. I anticipate that you'll see that soon, Allison. But I also want to be clear with the American people, Allison, that part of what's going on here is an attempt to undermine confidence in mail-in voting. And we know that people are voting by mail
오늘 여기까지 하겠습니다.
because of COVID.
오늘 많이 했다. 운동 많이 했다. 진짜 많이 했다.
My colleagues to people is continue to exercise your right to vote.